So our last speaker today is Edward Harper. He's from the Office of Program Integrity for the Child Nutrition Program at USDA Food and Nutrition Service. And he's going to talk to us about their web-based prototype that they had put together for school meals, which was another 2017 award winner. So please welcome Edward Harper.
Well, good morning. I'm from U.S. Department of Agriculture's Food and Nutrition Service, FNS for short. I work in the Office of Program Integrity for the Child Nutrition Programs. FNS administers 15 nutrition assistance programs, and I know you're familiar with at least two of those, probably three, but at least two, the National School Lunch Program and the School Breakfast Program. I'll refer to those as the school meal programs for short. You may not know that all school meals that meet USDA nutrition standards are eligible for a federal government subsidy. But the most critical role of the school meal programs is to provide free or substantially reduced price meals to children from low-income families. Families qualify for free or reduced price school meals in a few different ways. One way, which is the traditional way to establish one's eligibility for program benefits, is to apply to your own school district by means of an annual application. And in keeping with the decentralized nature of primary and secondary education in the U.S., each school district is responsible for issuing its own applications to parents, collecting those applications, and determining which households are eligible for program benefits. To give you a sense of the size of this process every year, there are 20,000 school districts in the U.S. that operate the school lunch or breakfast programs. School districts are also free to design their own applications, subject to certain constraints. USDA has long supported school districts in that effort by offering a prototype or model application that includes all of the elements required by statute and regulation. This is USDA's current model paper application. The agency redesigned this a few years ago in partnership with the human-centered design professionals who work out of the Office of Personnel Management's Innovation Lab. I know Ariane Miller is set to speak later today. She's from OPM Lab. A primary goal of that redesign effort was to help reduce common mistakes that parents make when filling out their applications. Those mistakes lead to errors in determining which children are eligible for free or reduced price meal benefits. We refer to that as certification error. Children are certified mistakenly for the wrong benefit level. Oftentimes that means children are approved for free meals when they're not income eligible, but it also means that some eligible kids are denied benefits altogether. Certification error is not solely due to household mistakes in the application process, but household mistakes are the single biggest driver of certification error, and they account, in fact, for more than a third of overall improper payments in the school meal programs. If you're familiar with ACT-IAC and IPERA, you know that federal agencies put a lot of effort into measuring improper payments and in developing processes to eliminate them. USDA released its most recent study to measure improper school meal payments in satisfaction of IPERA in 2015. That study supports the conclusion that most applicant error is due to simple mistakes. The rules on household composition and income for free or reduced price meals are not that easy, admittedly, not that easy. And paper applications ask a lot of our applicants. Applicants are expected to master and read and digest a pretty lengthy set of instructions that are not that intuitive. This is where you should be thinking, paper applications, there have to be better ways to certify kids for free or reduced price meals. And there are. More kids now are certified through automated systems than through applications. But for a number of reasons, those alternate methods cannot and will not ever reach every eligible family. Millions of households remain dependent on the traditional application process. But traditional application doesn't have to mean paper application. What about online? Until a year ago, USDA had never offered school districts a model online application to give design advice specific to a web-based platform. After all, the statutory and regulatory requirements are the same whether the application is on paper or is web-based. And those requirements are illustrated in our paper model. Because USDA didn't weigh in, though, on web-based application design, school districts and the private firms that build most applications made their own design choices. The problem is that this application, which we think is a good paper product, turned out to be a limiting factor in the design of web-based applications. Absent specific advice from USDA, school districts designed their online applications to look and feel much like our paper prototype. This is my only joke, so if you don't laugh now, you're not going to laugh later. Anyway, okay, they're not exactly like this typical online application. And in fairness to school districts and their software vendors, I would have done the same thing if I'd been in their place. After all, USDA's web or paper prototype is both the first and the last word on how a school meal application might be constructed to satisfy all the statutory and regulatory requirements. But the lesson from our latest study on improper payments called for a different approach. We knew that we needed to make more effective use of technology to reduce the kind of applicant mistakes that drive so much of our certification error. And at the heart of that study was an in-home, in-person income interview with parents who had previously submitted applications for meal benefits. The answers given by parents in those interviews, compared with the income and household information they put on their applications, is the basis for how we measure household error in the application process. We recognize that a better web-based application was one that stepped parents through essentially the same income interview as the one in our improper payment study. Rather than ask parents to master a separate set of instructions, let the application guide them through a series of straightforward questions on specific income categories. Essentially, obviously, the same model that's perfected by tax preparation software. With that as our starting point, we set out to build USDA's first web-based model application. How we went about that, though, is no less important than the final product. Our goal from the start was to change the way school districts and school software firms thought about web-based applications. But more important than that, we wanted to make the process of applying for school meal benefits less burdensome and more intuitive for parents who have better things to do than struggle with another government form. And we had an obligation to the public to reduce improper payments in the school meal programs. That's a tall order, and it was made more challenging by the fact that we had a tiny budget, at least by federal government standards, about $200,000, and a tight timeline. So we wanted to partner with tech and design talent that we knew we couldn't afford and we couldn't attract through traditional government contracting. And even if we did manage to build an application to our standards, we couldn't simply compel school districts to adopt it. As I mentioned earlier, school districts design, distribute, and process their own applications. They and their software providers have invested a lot in their current online application designs. But today's event is about innovation, and to accomplish everything we set out to do, we needed both an innovative product and an innovative approach to building and marketing it. It turns out that there are a lot of great resources available to federal agencies for challenges just like ours, and we tapped into a bunch of them. Our first step was to invite input from tech entrepreneurs across the country through the prize competition authority available by statute in some manner to all government agencies. Our America Competes Act contest generated interest from hundreds of developers and designers around the country. The applications they developed redefined what a school meal application could look like. And the very public and open nature of a national contest signaled to school districts and their software vendors that USDA was truly committed to innovative, integrity-focused application design. Here are just a few of our winning entries. After the contest, USDA partnered with a developer and a designer serving appointments in the Presidential Innovation Fellows Program. While F&S staff developed the application's content, the Innovation Fellows did most of the coding. We decided from the outset to adopt the research-backed and user-oriented web design standards developed by GSA's Technology Transformation Service. And we also tapped into expertise of behavioral economists serving appointments with GSA's Office of Evaluation Sciences. They gave us advice on layout and structure. And at the very end, we got critical help from Ambit Corporation developers who are under contract to F&S. In this way, using shared government services and taking advantage of other government-wide resources, we were able to build a technically advanced product very quickly and at extremely low cost. It took just 6 months from the launch of our contest to the release of our finished product. So finally, as for changing the school software market, we committed upfront to build an open source product to allow free reuse of our code and to encourage and accelerate continued innovation by the private school software market. In the year and a half since our application's release, school software vendors have begun to modify their products, adopting key integrity features from our model, improving on our design, and in the case of one major vendor, adopting our application in its entirety. That process continues, and as it does, I'm confident that we've improved the user experience for every applicant, and that we've made it easier for them to complete the process without error, a benefit to all of us with an interest in the integrity of the school meal programs. Thank you very much.